Dun, 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 dun.
Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Fires upfield into the end zone, and it's caught. Jelani Woods, touchdown!
A 43-point night for Tyrese Halliburton.
How do you like that, partner?
Galloway drives all the way to the hole, throws it up, got it! Indiana's got their first lead of this contest.
I mean, that's a goddamn Emmy winner right there.
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hello, everybody. Welcome aboard Indiana Sports Beat, back for another edition, of course, on this Thursday, June 22nd, second day of summer. Just hot. Not really. Hot because Dustin Schutte's with us. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Cannot complain. Another great day. Of course, brought to you by our good friends from Andy Moore Honda. Just go to andymorehonda.com to get more to your door for the best in new and used vehicles. And Endeavor Hospitality and the family of restaurants in and around the Bloomington area, and including the Ugly Grouper down in Anna Maria Island, Florida, wherever you might be. We've got you covered, man. We appreciate you so much. Thanks a lot for everybody jumping on the Andy Moore Honda hotline as well. Appreciate everybody, no matter where you're listening. Our good friends up in the region, over in Fort Wayne, down in Evansville, all around the state, and then beyond on YouTube. Say hello and good day to Dustin Schutte. How are you, sir? Look who
I got to be honest. I'm right now. Everybody knows probably moving back to Indiana. I've been going back and forth. 13 hours in a car, Jim, will do a number on your back in your post 30s. And I've got to do another trip of it on Friday. So I may, in a few days, end up looking like the Hunchback from Notre Dame.
Well, at least you'll be in the right state for
it. That's a good point. Fair point.
Damn. I've been on fire. I'm on fire, baby. It's gold, Jerry, gold. Yeah, that's one of my least favorite things to do in the world is move. It just never gets easy. But I have noticed each and every time I've had to do that, it's becoming less stuff. I'm like, yeah, but I hate it because you like to have your stuff, man, your tools, everything, the whole deal. But
I've done it so frequently that I don't hate it. It's just time consuming. And so, and going from Florida to Indiana is quite the haul. So, but we're almost through it. As you said, I've downsized so much stuff and things that I don't need that it's very refreshing that I do not have as much crap as I once did.
I think with the haircut this time, you need to go with the daggone it. What was the movie Deniro, his first role he played?
Taxi?
Taxi. I think
was it Taxi or Taxi Driver?
Taxi Driver. I think you need to go with the Taxi Driver look. Get a.
I could try to pull that off. I would absolutely not pull it off, but I could go for it.
Go to an Army surplus store, get the Army, get the old Army jacket. Yeah, that you could pull that off.
I could do it. I don't know that pull it off would be the right term for that.
The Travis Buckle Mohawk, as Justin points out. There we go. He even knows his name. Travis Buckle.
I didn't remember his name. I actually did watch that. That's one of the movies I have seen.
Travis Bickle. As soon as he says it, though, I do remember it being that. Wow, you remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike was saying he drove back from Goldsboro, North Carolina in a blizzard once, 14-hour drive, took him 20 hours.
Ooh.
Yeah, I drove it. Hey, I used to be a TV sports anchor, and my last job was in Washington State. And so I was driving back, and I remember driving across Kansas, and that's 24 hours of your life that you don't get back, and it's only an 8-hour drive. It was just like, and didn't feel well. That stunk. So
yeah, fortunately the drive includes going through Georgia, Tennessee, Kentucky. So, and I don't mind it because at least you get plenty to look at. There's lots of mountains, hills, lakes, and stuff. So, instead of keeping my eyes on the road, apparently I was keeping it on the scenery. So,
question on why the KSU shirt, is that Kentucky State? Oh no, that's Kennesaw State. That's why.
Kennesaw State.
State. Yeah.
Yeah. So for people who don't know, I used to live in Kennesaw, and it's I think the second biggest university in Georgia, but at the same time, it's a very unique, small setting. They played in the ASUN, and if I'm living there, I wanted to go out and support the team. They had a good basketball run when I was there, so I had season tickets for a couple of years. So it was just fun to go out and support. And at the time, I was covering the Big Ten. I didn't get to go to a lot of live sporting events. So this was a way, going to Kennesaw State games was a way for me to get my live sports fix and then support the kids that were at the school and the community.
Russell's doing his best to come up with a name here. He's earlier he went with Batman and Robin. Now he's got 2 men in a truck. That's
there we go. I like it.
Yeah, that's more like it right there. Fred pointing out Dan Hurley of UConn, $33 million for 6 years. New blood. Yeah.
There you go.
He's a new blood. That's right. UConn is a new blood, and they are substantially ahead of I don't know if I could put them ahead of Duke, but
they're right not in the conversation.
They're not below Duke,
right?
Because they both won 5 national championships in that span. Well, not the same span, but Duke's started in '91, so Duke is also a new blood. Although most people consider him a blue blood, I have a difference. I have a delineation line for that.
I don't know if we're going to see. Back in the old days with like Indiana, Kentucky, North Carolina, Kansas, I don't know if we're going to see in today's era of college basketball where players transfer and NIL is such a big deal. I don't know if you're going to see a powerhouse program that stretches across like 5 to 10 years anymore. There might be teams that put together 2 or 3
I don't know, man. Kansas is not going to go away. They have obviously their NIL set up well. Where they were positioned better than any other program, in my opinion, because they didn't lose a coach like Duke did. Duke loses an iconic coach during at that time, so you can give them a pass because that's tough to continue. But Kansas has got the same coach, and they were already in the midst of great success, winning a national championship 2 years ago. Obviously their NIL is greatly intact. So I agree with you on the most part, but other than very, very, very few, like maybe Kansas, I agree with you. But Indiana is also, and those schools like Duke, Kentucky, they have the best opportunity to do it because they rely on that status. I'm not saying Indiana has the same status as Kansas at the moment to kids because of winning, but it's they still know. Kids still know when you go to a place. I don't care where it is, if it's Indiana or not, where winning is just different. Where it matters, where it's just different. And whether Indiana has been to Final Fours and winning national championships in the last 25 years or not, doesn't matter. It's still different at Indiana. And by different, I mean greatly elevated. And you feel that aura no matter if you're a fan, if you're a player, a coach. that is felt across the board because it is real and it's permeable.
I think I disagree with you on that. Because I think for people like us, we can say
that
and
was
we
a
know
great soliloquy, and you disagree. Golly.
I think for people like you and I understand what you're saying, and I agree with it on that level from the fans and from the former players. And I think even if you were to say current players, I think they would understand what you're saying. But when it comes to recruiting, because Indiana hasn't really been in that mix recently, they don't have that mindset that it's different in Indiana. I think when you talk about Kansas, Duke, North Carolina, because it's been a little bit more recent, I think that is maybe more permeable. At Indiana, it's been a while. And so I don't think kids now in the recruiting process, but I agree with I think when you put on that IU uniform and you play in front of that crowd, I think that's when you realize that it's different here.
But even the opponents, when they come in, they're still, I mean, it's different, man. It's just different. And it's not just there. But I'm just using that as an example.
Right.
But they have to, and look at the recruiting, which that's something you keep up with. But they've had 9 out of the top. Well, they've had 9 visitors of the 24 class. 7 of them are the top 30, and all 9 of them are top 50. It's now they have to get them committed. They have to get commitments, and they're not going to get 7 or 9 commitments. But you get 2 out of that class, 3 out of that class. That's an elite class. And that's where Indiana, that's the next step for Indiana. And that's where they're heading quickly, I believe, but we'll see what happens over the coming months.
Yeah. And Leslie says I should see the quotes from recent recruits. And I don't doubt that Mike Woodson's doing a good job recruiting. I don't doubt that he's bringing and selling them on the right mindset. I guess my point is that I don't know that if you were to ask kids about is winning different at Indiana than in other places, I don't know that they would have a way to measure that, because it hasn't been they've been good and they've won Big Ten championships. They've been to the NCAA tournament. They just haven't had that Final Four national championship success. So I don't know that you could differentiate between those. Now, that doesn't mean that Mike Woodson's not selling a good message, that Indiana isn't different. That's just my point on that, is that I don't know that they have a frame of reference as to what it means to be an elite basketball school, because Indiana, it's not a knock. There's a lot of teams that haven't been in that conversation for a while. That's what Indiana strives to get back to. And I think that if Mike Woodson is able to get some of these recruits, as Jim mentioned, just a couple of them, then I think you can get back into that conversation. So it's not a knock on Indiana. It was just plainly and simply, I don't know that Indiana's in that conversation when you talk about the elite programs right now. I don't know that would be how most recruits would view this program right now.
Yeah, I understand. There's definitely points to that. Tonight's NBA draft takes place, man. Looking forward. We'll talk to Chris Denari about that a little bit later. But there's stuff happening right up to the last minute. There was a gigantic blockbuster trade that was being put together, and it had to happen before midnight. A 3-team trade that would have sent, and I loved it. I just love saying this name. And I'm going to change my middle name to Chris Stapps. You can start calling me Jim Chris Stapps. Chris Stapps Porzingis. I mean, it's
Kristaps Coyle.
Kristaps. I love it.
Kristaps Coyle.
It would have a deal that would have sent him, former Pacer Malcolm Brogdon, to the Clippers and draft compensation, plus Marcus Morris to Washington. Then around 10:30, you started seeing reports that the Clippers were worried about Malcolm Brogdon's medical report. The trade was off. Washington and Boston still wanted to make it work, but there was the midnight deadline, and there was all kind of stuff. Porzingis would have been able to decline his player option, became a free agent. And so, but then you get another team involved, the Memphis Grizzlies. And so now Kristaps Porzingis goes to Boston. Your cousin from Boston. So Boston gets Porzingis and 2 first-round picks, including tonight's number 25, the 25th pick. Washington gets Tyus Jones, Danilo Gallinari, Mike Muscala, and tonight's 35th pick. And Marcus Smart goes to Memphis. Boom, boom. See, that stuff is and then who knows what the trade deadline was last night. So don't know. They can still trade, but you can still trade draft picks today? I thought trades.
I'm sure there's all kinds of things that can be done.
There's so much. Zion Williams, they keep saying that they think that he'll be on the move. So all kinds of stuff. We'll talk to Chris Denari about all that good stuff. Lots more coming up. Matt Taylor will join us. Kyle Neddenriep as well. Plenty to get to. Thanks a lot for joining us. Don't forget, make sure you stop by and visit the Chop Shop. Now located inside of BB's Market. Brand new steakhouse. I've been hearing great things about it. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
If you're in the market.
All right.
You got to go to the Lonesome Valley. Oh, no one knows where that's from, do you?
No.
Is that from Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Bam!
Look at that.
You got to go to the Lonesome Valley. Oh.
It's been a minute since I've seen that movie.
That cracks me up. They're about to die, and that guy's sitting there just singing that song. Whoa, you got to go. Nobody can go there for you. Moneyball coming to life.
What's that?
I said
The Rays?
Moneyball comes to life a little bit. The movie. 17 former MLB scouts suing Major League Baseball for AIDS discrimination.
All right.
Ruh-roh.
Did you? Well, the guys they had playing scouts in that movie, it was so funny. Huh? Who's Fabio?
Yeah. I do remember that, yeah.
Who's Fabio? Older scouts have been blacklisted.
All right, 30 seconds. Hopefully Matt Taylor will be here soon.
Operated by Endeavor Hospitality Group, launched from a previous staple in Bloomington, the former Function Brewing, Metalworks Brewing Company is the culmination of a passion for beer, food, and custom metal art. Check out their custom growlers. Metalworks Brewing Company has an updated menu, new brews, and will be offered in all Endeavor Hospitality restaurants. Come taste what Dr. Hops is brewing. Metalworks Brewing Company. Bring your passion and your thirst.
This segment is brought to you by Southern Stone Restaurant. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Thursday. Appreciate you joining us. Dustin Schutte with me. A little bit of Moneyball. The movie Moneyball seems to be coming to life. 17 former Major League Baseball scouts, and by that, there's a couple of scenes in that movie where they're trying to introduce analytics into baseball, and these scouts are all old, all these old guys, and just a room full of old guys doing things old ways is what it kind of how the scene is set. But 17 former scouts are suing Major League Baseball for AIDS discrimination. So I just can't help thinking of that. That's just a funny scene. If you haven't seen it, all I can think about is who's Fabio. You'd have to see the scene to get it, but it's funny. And speaking of looking at stuff, the Senate has invited, let's see, Greg Norman, Jay Monahan, and I think somebody else to appear in before the investigation they're doing into the LIV PGA. And the way I read it was the LIV's attempt to take over the PGA. And that would not be a good thing, in my opinion.
No, it wouldn't. But I don't understand. This whole thing has been bizarre to me because it started out like it was announced as a merger, right? And then Jay Monahan says, no, it's not a merger because they wanted to stay out of this investigation. The PGA Tour, I believe, said that this was a few weeks ago, that it still maintained a majority stake in everything that was happening. But the Saudi Arabia Public Investment Fund is where all the money is. And I can't imagine that there would be a financial power like that would be okay with taking a minority stake in a company. So this is very convoluted and very difficult. I don't understand what's happening. There's going to be some really weird things that come out about this, but I think we talked about this, Jim. I actually feel bad for the guys that stayed on the PGA Tour because now ultimately there's no punishment for Brooks Koepka, Bryson DeChambeau, Dustin Johnson just taking $200, $400, $300 million.
Well, I don't think that they should be punished for it. I mean, like Charles Barkley said, man, I'll kill a family member for $100 million.
Well, but the point is that they wanted to stay on. They weren't about the money. They wanted to be able to participate with the prestige of the PGA Tour.
I get it.
Have the opportunity to play in some of those premier tournaments. That's what they wanted to do. That they weren't concerned about the money aspect. But now I'm guessing that those live golfers are going to be able to play on those same tournaments. They've been permitted to play in the major championships. So what was the benefit of Rory McIlroy standing up there and denouncing live golf all these times? He did it John Rahm said it before his U.S. Open presser. We feel like we've been betrayed a little bit because they
were betrayed by the PGA.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, he said that, to put full context, he said, I feel like we've been hurt on a lot of things, but when you basically learn about this merger and things via text message or on social media, you're going to be a little bit upset about it. So it's very interesting from a legality standpoint. If you there's just going to be so much that comes out about this because there's so many lies, I think, between the two sides that are eventually going to come out. It may not be.
Jay Monahan's got a lot to explain. I mean, he went from basically the Live Tour and its players were all a part of the Axis of Evil, and they went from being the Axis of Evil to the saving grace. And I'm like, whoa, how did that happen? Which, I mean, we know how it happens. It's all about the Benjamins. But that's it just, and the membership, most were not aware of it. And so that's just, that's going to be interesting to see how it plays out.
I think if Jay Monahan would not have suspended those players, then this would be a non-issue. Because I didn't even consider that. That makes it even
funnier
because
they can in turn sue him for prevention of
because they were contract employees. They were contract employees. No, I'm not a lawyer. I have no idea how the legality of this stuff works, but I think that they would have avoided this because the biggest issue was the litigation, the lawsuits, and obviously the PIF had endless amounts of funds, billions and billions of dollars. The PGA Tour couldn't compete with that. But if you look at it from a numbers standpoint, a popularity standpoint, the PGA Tour was crushing Live Golf. Like Live Golf was on the CW, and it was being outdrawn by America's Funniest Home Videos. So from a sports perspective, the PGA Tour was winning. It was just the ineptitude to make rash decisions about this, and the players that left the PGA Tour for Live Golf that has the PGA Tour in the situation it's in.
I agree. Penny Hardaway was.
Matt's here.
Hey, Matt, how are you, brother?
Hey guys, what's going on?
Got the man of anonymity. I didn't see it. I was down here reading. I apologize. How have you been?
I'm good. I'm coming to you from beautiful Clearwater Beach, Florida.
Wow.
Oh.
We're
down in Dustin country.
Avoid the bears down there.
How far are you from Anna Maria Island? I mean, you're right above it.
That's a good question. Probably, I don't know, maybe like an hour or so, hour and a half, probably.
Oh, wow. That's a pretty good distance. Well, that's the ugly grouper there. That's part of the Endeavor. They own that restaurant as well.
Oh, there you go. All right. Is it worth the drive? Let's go.
I've heard it is. I've heard that it is. I've heard nothing but great things. Plenty of listeners have been there. Great things. But the draft tonight, man, one that you don't have to worry about.
Yeah. It's kind of snuck up on me as far as that goes. Yeah, I mean it's crazy how much the NFL draft sort of flexes its muscle over all other drafts, especially the Major League Baseball draft. I mean certainly every sports draft is the lifeblood of roster construction and things like that. But just seems like in football more so than other sports, it's if you whiff on the draft at those premium positions, in the first 2 rounds of the draft, you're always talking about quarterbacks and left tackles and pass rushers and corners and elite wide receivers going in the first round. Those are you have to get those positions in the draft for long-term success, because those positions seemingly do not come available. The top end guys at those positions anyways do not come available in free agency. So I'm sure basketball is a little bit different. So excited to see what the Pacers do. And they had a bunch of draft picks. I saw the trade last night, and so I think that makes good sense to if you have assets and you have the ability to stockpile, for next year as well. I think that makes good sense, while also keeping an eye on how to make your team better for this upcoming season. So excited to see what the Pacers can do and what they can add.
Yeah, I think what's interesting, Matt, is and you kind of touched on this, how the NFL's draft flexes its muscle over the other sports. But I feel like too, the NFL is a major trendsetter in this, where I don't want to say that the draft of some of these sports is the premier event or more important than the regular season, but it's viewed as it's viewed as one of the premier events for the NBA and the NFL. I think that started with the NFL when you get into talking about team building and reconstruction, and everybody's excited about their team for the upcoming season. Like, it's just I don't know if you could put a line of demarcation where this started happening, but I feel like after the NFL draft became more popular, then that started to trickle into the NBA, where people are, now just as excited about the draft, trades, all that stuff that goes into team building as much as the regular season at times.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's exactly right. I mean, at no other point on the calendar are you going to infuse your roster with 7, 8, 9 guys, or in the case of the Colts, 12 guys all at once. And, the NFL more than the other sports, I think, represents parity. And I think for the most part, every NFL roster is pretty. I think I've said this before on your show, so forgive me, but every NFL roster is pretty comparable. Guys, 15. If you're ranking like the top talent on your team, like guy 15 to 53 on every NFL roster is pretty comparable. Obviously, there's differences and subtleties across the board, but you get what I'm saying. The difference makers in the NFL are your top 10 to 15 guys, right? The guys that I just mentioned, your premium players at those premium spots, quarterback, wide receivers, defensive ends, pass rushers, tackles, right tackle, left tackle. Those are the guys that truly impact the game, right? The guys that put the ball in the end zone or take it away. And those are the players you find in the draft more often than not. And the NFL represents parity in the sense that, like, what is it, 33 straight years, 4 teams make the playoffs that did not the year before. And last year, that number was 7. So I think why the NFL draft is so popular is that it just represents hope. It represents a new start. It represents, hey, if we get this draft right, if we address some specific holes or some areas on our team, we can be right there. We can compete again if we nail this draft class and bring in the talent that we need. And so I think that's why the NFL draft is so popular, is because it represents every fan's dreams that, hey, next year could be our year if a couple things go our way, if we hit on this draft class. And so I know I've said this again on your show too. It's the NFL never sleeps. There's really no off season, and I think people are just as interested in roster construction and the salary cap and free agency. I think they're just as into that as they are, the wins and losses in October, and maybe to some people even more so, because I do think some people get kind of lost in the routine and the mundane nature of the week to week. We play every Sunday. People that aren't as necessarily into the X's and O's as others, they geek out on the draft and free agency and the analytics and stuff like that. So I can speak from a content standpoint. Like some of the content that we put out in March and April really outperforms stuff that we do in October because of what I just said.
Wow.
Yeah, information, man, information. And I started to think, and came up with an idea. College basketball should have a 2-day portal exchange where all people that are in the portal, they have to make their decision in this 2-day period. Mm-hmm. And so you see all the changes happen. Who's going from where? Oh, this guy's going from Duke to Indiana. This guy's going from Kansas to Purdue. That would be a fun show. That would liven stuff up. Then you have all the fans for all the teams.
I agree. That's have it be like a big Big Ten Network special or whatever, and have that be a 2-day extravaganza where every single player in the portal has to make their decision in that little window. I think that would be fantastic.
Yes.
Now
when that happens, and I'm the man standing on the sideline, I'll be crying.
Well, you're always the man on the sideline, so let's not forget that.
That is true.
I was concerned, but I did see smoke starting to come out of Jim's ears when he said he was thinking. So I don't know if there was brain overload there. But Matt, I want to go on to a personal question for you, because you obviously work incredibly hard.
Dustin, I've told you he's single, man. I told you he's not single.
He's not. Yeah. So, but you work incredibly hard.
Everybody has their price, Dustin. Everybody's got a price. A man is only as loyal as his options.
Well, there we go. There you go. Yep, there you go. But I'm curious, when you work so hard throughout the year, you've obviously got a ton of stuff, and then the NFL season is going to be here before you know it. You're on vacation. What's the ultimate vacation look like for Matt Taylor?
Well, right now, Yeah, I mean, right now it is the slowest part of the NFL calendar between end of the off-season workout program, end of mini camp, to training camp. So you've got about a 5-week window where really things kind of slow down. But then as soon as you say that, though, I mean, things will immediately start to ramp back up. I mean, the season just creeps up on you if you let it. And so you've got to get your ducks in a row. I mean, from my standpoint, I'm already working on preseason games, just because you got 90-man rosters in the preseason, and so that's just a beast. And so I start working on that as soon as the schedule comes out in early May. So I've already been working on that stuff for about 6 weeks or so, which I think you have to, because once you start reporting for training camp and you're going through the daily grind of that, if you're not prepared for those preseason games with 90-man rosters, you're already going to be swimming with the water 3 feet over your head. So I like to think that's what you have to do. But yeah, I mean, I do like a lot of long weekends this time of year. Like starting in mid-May, I'll do a lot of long weekends. I'll take a week here and there. I'm taking another week off in July. Right now, I'm not on the ideal vacation. I love my kids. I do. I love them to death. I don't want anybody to think that I'm a terrible father. But right now, this is not really a vacation. It's a trip. It's an experience with the kiddos. I've got a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old. And so basically I'm on their schedule. I'm at their beck and call, as any parent of young children would attest to. And so, yeah, I'm not really on a vacation. I'm on a trip with my kids, and we're having a great time, but I really haven't done anything that I want to do, and that's okay.
Yeah, welcome to life, right?
Yeah,
I can't speak.
I can only laugh because I'm like, yeah, I get it. It's like you can stand, you can see it, you know what you'd like to do, and it's right over there, but you can't touch it.
I know. I drive down the street. I'm like, I'd like to go there. I'd like to have a drink there. I'd like to walk on the beach. Nope, I'm just buried at the pool, throwing a football to a 2-year-old in a puddle jumper, which is pretty awesome too.
Yes, it is.
We did about 6 hours of that consecutively yesterday, which was fantastic in its own right, because those are memories that you're going to make, and it's time you're never going to get back, because they don't stay little forever, and so you have to cherish that while you're there in the moment.
That is absolute truth, brother. Absolute truth. My daughter is just landed in London. She's going to be studying abroad this summer, but I'm like going, don't wear jewelry out. You can't do this. You got to do this. I'm like going, man. I just worry, but that'll be here tomorrow for you.
Yeah, I know it.
I know we've got to take a break and let you go. Who's your baseball team?
The 11 straight winning Cincinnati Reds are my baseball team.
Well, someone sent me a message last night saying, because I've been trying to figure out, I'm like, there's somebody that comes on with us that's also a Reds fan. I couldn't remember. And they said, is it Matt Taylor? And I'm like going, well, it's a good question. I don't know. So, yeah, how about that, man? 11 straight wins, Central Division leading. It's crazy.
I know it. I am, not to puff my chest out here, but I think I'm the biggest Reds fan that I know. I don't think there's anybody in my circle that's a bigger Reds fan than me. I
know you know Kit Klingelhofer.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Dude, yeah, he's I'd put him up there because he knows his stuff. Well, he's a former SID, so that dude's mind is full of nothing but information. But 100%. he went to the Field of Dreams game last year.
Oh wow, that's pretty awesome. That
was cool. But well, I don't want to keep your brother. You're on vacation with the kids. Get back to it, and maybe the Reds will keep winning.
I know they won't win today because they don't play today, but they play the Braves this weekend, and I'm incredibly excited about it. I mean, I've been very critical and kind of dumbfounded on the Reds and their front office. I thought they completely overreacted to the pandemic. I thought they did, but I got to give them credit because all of these guys they've brought up are just outperforming, I think, even their wildest expectations. So from that standpoint, you got to tip your cap to them, and hopefully these guys can continue to, keep playing well, and hopefully they don't like hit the rookie wall or start to flame out because it's so new to them and all of that. So, but all I know is baseball is fun again. And at this point, the last 6 straight years, I haven't been watching baseball nearly as intently as I'm watching it now. And I love baseball. So they have brought in a little bit of joy and some, simple, fun things back into my life in the summertime.
I hear you, brother. Cheers to that. I'm right there with you. And the College World Series has been a blast. If you can watch that one too.
Yep.
Well, brother, go have fun. Throw some footballs for us.
You got it. I appreciate it. I got to warm up the arm. Appreciate you guys.
The great Matt Taylor, voice of the Indianapolis Colts, joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat. Brought to you by the Ugly Grouper on Anna Maria Island down in Florida, just west of Sarasota. Beautiful place, incredible restaurant. I hear nothing. I've not been able to go there yet, but I've had several listeners that have gone there, and they just love it. It's a part of the Endeavor Hospitality Network, owned by the same group. So there you go. Support those who support you, and they are definitely helping bring this content to you. We've got to take a break. We've got more Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Cal Neddenriep will be joining us, and Chris Denari later on. Back after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
I got confused on what time it was. I'm like, oh crap, is it a?
No, you still got one more segment.
Yeah. All right. So the Pacers trade, which is good. They got rid of the 29th and the 33rd pick to the Nuggets for a first round pick in this year's 40th. But what first round pick?
Next year, 2024.
I know, but I guess it's just not determined yet.
No, they have to play the season. Yeah. Yeah. Chris, by the way, Chris is also a Reds fan. Chris Denari.
This is going to be a great day.
I'm almost positive of that because I think he's talked about it before.
Well, you know that the hell's freezing over when we're talking about the Reds.
I'm aware of that. Yeah.
And I love it. Antonio Reeves is staying in Kentucky. That will make them a little better. Boom, boom.
Boom, boom, boom.
What was I looking for?
Somebody said earlier that I should have an afro, and I used to have an afro back in the day.
Well, you get a wig. Just use a fake wig, and then you could,
I don't. I don't need a wig.
John, how much time we have?
1:20.
All right. This is a short segment anyway, right?
Yeah, you'll go about 8-10 minutes here.
Hey, I like that transfer portal. That would be great.
Let's talk about that next.
I'm serious. Think about that. The excitement. Boom, it's all there. It all happens at once. Instead of this crap, it's all spread out. Boom, let's just make it happen. Get it done. Let's go. Everything's professionalized anyway. Why not go all the way? Don't fiddle fart around.
And we cook up. The Fresh Fork takes care of all the planning, shopping, and prepping and can even deliver them to your doorstep once a week. That's right. It's the fastest, simplest, and easiest way to avoid decision fatigue. You pick your plan and pick up at BB's Market with no extra charge. So leave the heavy lifting to us and enjoy healthy eating with stocked meals in your fridge. Order online today at thefreshfork.com. Fresh Fork is a proud partner of WOW Network. This segment is brought to you by RE/MAX Advanced Realty, Indie Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back. It is the second day of summer, but it's very beautiful in the Bloomington area. I keep being told. High of 70-something degrees today. You guys are living the life of luxury right now. I'm not there at the moment. Hey, July 20th. Mark it on your calendar. Be ready to be at the golf club at Eagle Point for the annual Never Lose Hoop golf outing. The Hulls Foundation started. This benefits area kids with cancer. So help be a part of the good things in someone's life. And that is truly a good thing. If you can go to John, put up the link. There's a simple place for everything. Registration, whether if you want to be a sponsor or just a whole sponsor, you can be a whole sponsor. And it doesn't matter where you are. Last year we had several. And I have the pictures finally, and that reminds me, I've got to get those sent out, of Jordan Hulls holding the sign posters of everyone, which is cool. Took me a little while longer to get that done, but part of that was because he wasn't here and all that moving here. But maybe we'll get Fozon to come play in the Never Lose Hoop Golf Scramble. Fozon, you got it on your calendar, July 20th. You're hop a flight to Bloomington, man. But John, put that up one more time for me. I'm going to write that down, but read it out. But for the Never Lose Hoop golf outing, you just go to events.golfstatus.com, and you should be able to find the Never Lose Hoop through that. If you don't, if you're having problems, let me know. But everything is right there. Registration, sponsorships, information, the whole deal. And it's going to be a blast. We have ramped up the game 1,000-fold. Dustin, not one, not two, but 3 hole-in-one contests totaling $20,000 at hand. 2 5s and a 10.
Wow, that's awesome.
These are all on makeable par 3 holes. And as a matter of fact, the $10,000 one is going to be on probably the most makeable.
I like it.
So
now, when you say most makeable, that's for everybody else. Like people like me, there's no chance.
No, even you. This is the most makeable for even you and me.
Unless it's at a putt-putt course, I've given up on the thought of hitting a hole-in-one. So,
well, the funny thing is, I'm assuming it's going to be on hole 10 at the golf club at Eagle Point, which is a relatively short par 3. It usually plays anywhere from 125 to 140. Which is not a very long shot. You're looking at a wedge, or
wedge or a 9-iron.
But it plays optically. It screws with your head. The tee and the green are probably about the same elevation, but in between, it is directly down, directly back up, and it always plays longer. They all those stinking par 3s play longer than they appear to you for some reason, but it's still very makeable. Nice pond on the left side of it. that feeds a waterfall that runs down through the middle of all that stuff. But hey, man, 10 grand. I have a feeling somebody's going to hit it.
Got to. They got
10,000. That would be incredible. But looking forward to that. Looking forward to seeing what players are out there. IU athletes, coaches. Woody said he is planning on being there, so it's going to be a fun day. And so make sure you get set up for that, guys. If you have any questions, just let me know. Yeah, the big red machine, baby. The new big red machine. Wow. Well, you can't use those. That's a term that'll never change for that one team. But how about it? Kevin thinks the Reds are going to sweep the Braves this weekend. Didn't they start the season by doing that last year? Didn't they start the season last year by sweeping the Braves?
I think they won the series. I don't think they swept. I thought they won two of the three.
I can't remember, but yeah.
I'm pretty sure they won the series.
Now, no one expects them to – I don't expect them to sweep the Braves because the Braves are a really, really good team. But the Reds are – it's winning streaks are – baseball is the most superstitious sport.
Yeah.
It's great because of all the silly superstitions, but – they start to take that stuff serious, man. Like they get on winning streaks and this and that. And they're like, oh yeah, don't change anything. The only thing that have they had a day off in this stretch? I know that they probably did because the first 8 games were on the road and the last 3, I believe, they swept the Rockies at home. So those were at home, but I don't know if they had a travel day in between.
That's a good question. I don't remember. I don't know if they have either. But they want to. Yeah, they probably want to keep. They probably wish they were playing today. When you're that hot, you generally want to be on the field as much as you can.
But it's also a feeling, man. They feel like they can win. They feel like they're going to win, and it's mostly youth. As Matt talked about, Matt Taylor from the Colts. And isn't it fun talking to Colts people about the baseball? I mean, that's what makes I love all of that. But anyway, it's a mindset. They think they can win. They think they're going to win. And you have all that youth and naivete. And now you have not just Joey Votto, but Joey Votto who comes back like, what are you, crazy? Is that Superman? What do you step up there and hit a home run? Are you kidding me? Yeah. But yeah, and then they've got a guy that's potentially rookie of the year is going to make a run at rookie of the year
after getting called up on June 6th.
Yeah,
that's when he got called up. Look, that when he legged out what should have been an easy out when that was against the Astros, I think. I mean, that was one of the most incredible singles I think I've ever seen because that ball was hit 5 to 10 feet past first base and he still legged it out. I mean, just incredible. This dude is going to be a player in this league for a while. He's really good. Smart move to call him up. I don't know. And by the way, I don't know. Joey Votto deserves a good season for all he's done for that organization, for as good as he's been. For as long as he's been, I mean, he deserves to get to the playoffs and have a run. They don't deserve to sweep the Braves this weekend. I'll tell you that. I'll save that. That's my Braves fandom speaking. But I feel it would be awesome to see Joey Votto get back into the playoffs because he's meant so much to that organization. So I'd like to see the end.
He's never played in the playoffs.
Are you serious?
Well, if he's been with the Reds, he's never played in the playoffs.
We're gonna have to look this up. I'm gonna look this up.
It would have had to have been with somebody else. Yeah, we've got to. But looking forward to talking more about that as well. But big thanks to Matt Taylor and Dustin. Glad to have you here. But we've got to take a break. We've got more coming up. Kyle Neddenriep, Chris Denari, and more of me and Chris. Me and Dustin. Back after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
If you're in the
wow, man, I did not realize that they'd made the playoffs in 12.
I was going to say
recently as 2012.
He's been in Cincinnati since 2007.
Well,
so if they hadn't made the playoffs in that long, I was going to be very concerned.
Well, they barely have. They've been in last the rest of the time. Tom pointing out that they've been in there, but they haven't won a game.
Okay, so
Thanks,
they were in 2020, 2013, 2012, 2010. Before that, the last time was 1995. So they did go 15 years without an appearance.
Did you say 20 during the COVID year?
2020, yep. That's what this is. That's what good old Wikipedia is telling me anyway.
You guys are on it, man. Andrew Chipper Jones listening in.
Yeah, they last time they won a game was 2012.
Kent, I thought the Reds were the new Cubs, brother. But treading water is better than the. There's a good question. We'll bring that up. With. Yeah, that's a good question, Fred.
It is. I have no idea.
Well, all you do is you go to a mock draft, you look and just look at 5, 6, and 7.
Look at who they've got listed.
Was that a good enough out, John?
Yeah, that was fine. Kyle will be on here shortly.
How much time do we have?
Less than a minute.
God dang it. I always wait too late. Oh, man. You see me walk away, you just got to continue. Did you hear me?
All right. Yep.
I'm back.
All right, here we go.
Patterson and Rogers. It's one of the most popular gathering spots in Bloomington. Whether you're out on a date with your spouse, friends, or coworkers, Feast Market and Cellar offers an extensive wine selection with a sommelier on staff to help you with your selections. Feast also provides a wide variety of cheeses, gourmet sandwiches, entrees, a coffee bar, bread, pastries, all made fresh and mouthwatering. Stop by Feast Market and Cellar today.
This segment is brought to you by Feast Market and Cellar. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Thursday. Just enjoying some pre-draft chat. But Kyle Neddenriep from the, as you know him, from Indianapolis, joining us now. Did you see how smooth that was, Kyle?
Very.
And that's the first time I've been able to think quick enough to do it. You know, Dustin is on with us at the beginning of the week. Zach's on Friday, so I'm going to try to remember then. But and if you're not catching on, the great writers are not using bylines. Is that just Gannett, or is this because I was just happened to catch a little bit of Late Night with Seth Meyers the other night, and they're having a same Writers Guild negotiate whatever's going on with there, and so there's a similar thing going on. I'm like, well, this isn't the same thing, I don't think. So Is that just coincidental?
Yeah, I think it's coincidental. I mean, it's, I guess, sort of a similar situation maybe, but we're sort of in a contract. I don't know what you want to call it.
Negotiation.
It's sort of a way to generate some, just to get the word out, I guess, basically, as to sort of the contract situation. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know how long it will go on necessarily, but it's sort of showing solidarity, I guess, as far as that goes, and trying to get the word out. It's not necessarily directed at anybody with the Indy Star. It's a company type of thing, Gannett sort of situation. So I can't speak highly enough about the bosses I have at the Indy Star, and they know that, I think, and hopefully, but it's more has to do with just the bigger corporate company.
Now, is that going on throughout Gannett, or is that just at specific papers?
I think it's just specific papers. I don't know. I know other Gannett papers are doing some different things, and I think one of them actually went on strike completely, but yeah, we're doing this for the time. I know they're in negotiations actually yesterday and today. So hopefully there's some positive things that come out of that. I'm not directly involved with the guild. I mean, I'm involved with the guild, but I'm not one of the leaders of it. So I'm kind of hearing things through them as it goes. So hopefully we'll have some better news, by the end of this week and into next week. And then, we can kind of go back to business as usual. But again, it's sort of you noted that. And I think most of our writers are doing that, and photographers too. A lot of them are. And so it's just sort of something we've been doing. I think this is probably the third week of it right now.
Oh, it's funny. I was reading an article yesterday, and I know about this, but I was like, well, who wrote this? And so I scroll back up, and I'm like, oh, crap, I forgot. So I was like, it was empty, baby. And I'm like, So hopefully it has the desired effect as it should. Kind of a slower time even for you this time of year, but nothing ever stops or dies. We just had the Indiana Basketball Coaches Association Top 100. Lots of guys in there that are either going to schools, whether it's Purdue, but also the biggest name there was Flory Badunga, of course, that everybody likes to watch to see, and his recruitment. We keep hearing that his recruitment is getting kind of narrowed down to Duke and Indiana, which I know Cincinnati has to be considered, but that seems to be, I'm hearing that a lot.
Yeah, I think that seems, I had a chance to write a little bit about Flory. I talked to him after the Top 100 and, got a little bit of intel into, sort of a timeline on, and again, I think he's been saying, prior to senior year, he actually, I think it's going to be most likely the last week of July is kind of what the plans are. Now, things can always change. It's I know people like to get locked into, so this is what he said, and this is what's going to happen. And recruiting, man, it's just, I've covered it long enough to know things change on the fly very quickly. So, I'm not saying he couldn't commit before then or after then, but I think that's kind of the time frame they're looking at is sort of that last week of July before they get started with his senior year of high school. I think maybe August 3rd or somewhere in there is when he starts. So I'd say anywhere in there is kind of a safe bet for now. And Duke came into the picture here in the last several weeks and is a major player now. So that has changed, and again, people I think Cincinnati was the, sort of seen as the favorite, and then Auburn maybe took somewhat of a, jump forward, and IU's kind of always been there, having him on campus several times. And it sounds like they're going to get another visit from him, after this July thing starts, where July 1st they can take visits unlimited. So, your clock sort of starts over from your junior official visits. Now you get you can schedule more. So I think it sounds to me, talking to him there, he was planning on taking one last official visit to IU, which, you would think that would be very helpful if you're an IU fan. So, I think it's safe to say things have narrowed down somewhat. I don't know if it's just those two or I say there's still some others who are in the mix. I think some who were in the mix before have sort of maybe not as big of a part of this anymore as they were. So, I think it's obviously he's getting things narrowed down, and but I will say I think Duke's a major factor going to be. And he got offered by them last night, so on his official visit, no surprise there. So that's going to be a big hurdle, I think, to clear in this process.
What what is it? His basketball love. When did he start playing? He started playing late in life, right?
I mean, yeah, he was he played, but he didn't play at a real competitive level. Even until the last couple of years, really. I mean,
he was more of a. Didn't he play soccer?
Yeah, and he's going to play soccer. He told me he's going to play soccer this senior year at Kokomo. At least that's his plans. His college.
Oh, he's planning on playing soccer now.
Yeah, he's planning on playing soccer for Kokomo this fall. So I can't wait to go up there and watch him play. See what that's like.
Wait a minute. He should play goalie.
Yeah.
Is that what?
Yeah, I think he plans on playing in the field. But yeah, I would put him in goalie.
Well, they'd be in trouble. He just, oh my God, gee whiz.
He said he's better at soccer than basketball, which I find hard to believe. But hey, but yeah, I don't know what his college coach, if he commits and then plays soccer, what they're going to feel about that necessarily. But yeah.
Well, you know what? Maybe that gives Indiana. Hey, we'll let you consider walking on soccer program, man. You'll never get to play because they're too good. But
yeah, he's a big soccer guy. So I mean that could be something. But
he could become the first athlete, and they could offer this. You could become the first athlete to go to the Final Four in two sports, in basketball and soccer. As Indiana is always a 50-50 shot to make the college cup in soccer every year. But so that would be fun to see. But so it sounds like you said, Duke is a major player. What is it? Mike Krzyzewski being gone, they don't have that icon there, and that after Bob Knight was no longer at Indiana, it was a huge difference. I mean, because people go to play most of the time for a coach, not as much the program, but in this case, it seems it's more the program than the coach.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and Duke's relatively new to this whole recruiting, so they don't have the, sort of the relationship really, at least the extensive time to know him and be recruiting him like a Cincinnati or like an IU or Purdue or people like that who've been on him for a while. So, it's interesting to me how, I think it's only been probably 3 weeks they've been recruiting him. There was some talk about him going to the 2023 class and reclassifying. He said that's not going to happen. So Duke's recruiting him apparently as a 2024. And I think the name carries a lot of weight. He said Duke's he knows Duke. I mean, it's I think, I don't know if it's fair to say he's a fan of Duke necessarily, but he definitely, that name carries weight. And I think that's going to impact, I'm not saying he's going to commit there necessarily, but I think it impacts what he, how he views it. And I'm sure getting down there gives him a better idea of this is something I see myself doing or not. But we'll see. I mean, I think coming back here and it'll play to IU's favor if he does wait and make that visit. And, he gets one more time down there. He knows that program obviously really well, having been there several times. So I wouldn't count them out either. And who knows who else? I mean, I think Auburn is a factor. I think Cincinnati obviously has connections, and I wouldn't count those other schools out either. But
Cincinnati, it's Indiana Duke, boys. I mean, you're wise to say that, but I'm going out on the limb. It's definitely, I think, will be down between those two. But so what is it about
Duke that you know from what you've talked to him that he loves? Obviously, they had a great program. They had a successful run under Mike Krzyzewski, and like I use Bob Knight again as an example, where Duke probably made their transition was better than Indiana's transition was at the coaching at that time. So, but is it just the program? Because most of those guys, like I said, Mike Krzyzewski, he was Duke.
Well, I mean, think of what he's looking at. I mean, if you don't know a lot about college basketball, and Duke, the name is synonymous with college basketball. The NBA players they've sent, the players they've had, just throughout the years. I mean, that's got to be the appeal. I mean, it's everything. I mean, I don't know what, it's just that is the program really of the last, whether you're a Duke fan or not, you have to admit their name carries a ton of weight. So I would say the connection to the NBA, I mean, I don't think, Coach K leaving, I mean, we'll see how that plays out over the next several years, as far as if they can sustain that level of success. It's almost impossible to think that they will. I mean, it was such a premier program under his watch, but, I think that, I mean, even with IU after Knight left, it's like the name carries weight even now. It's always going to be synonymous with basketball. And I think Duke's the same way. So, but for more and more kids, it's about like who are you sending to the pros, and those connections are more important, whether people want to admit that or not. That's what it is. I mean, you see guys going to the pros from those schools. I mean, that stuff is a huge factor.
And that brings right up to the draft that's coming up. Tonight, Indiana expected to have Trace Jackson Davis and Jalen Hood-Schifino being taken. And I know the coaching staff is in New York with Jalen Hood-Schifino. That's huge. That's your free national commercials that you can put out there.
Absolutely. I mean, that like I said, I mean, that's the kids connect, the kids who are coming up, they're like, oh, who
Yeah, they do connect.
Trajectory there, and that's definitely a huge thing. So yeah, I mean, I would imagine that would be big for. That is a huge factor.
And then you've got Mike Woodson and his connections to the NBA, which are very, very deep. Having Indiana scheduled to play in New York in Madison Square Garden next year, but he'll be in familiar territory. He's got these pros that are Carmelo Anthony that he is such a relationship with. So Indiana is probably still is I don't know if it's a 50-50 thing because I'm not in his mind. I'm not in his conversations. But it is hard to get over when you are, someone mentioned earlier, when you're a kid, you fall in love with the brand. When you're an adult, people make the difference. Thank you, Philip. Yeah. I mean, that is it. Yeah. I mean, you fall in love with winners. But most kids are smarter than I was when I was a kid, so they make better decisions.
Well, I agree with Philip. I think the premise of that is accurate. I think also too is also getting a connection with the assistant coaches and that stuff does matter too, I think. But yeah, I completely agree. I mean, you're a fan of a team or you're a fan of a style, you're a fan of players mostly. I think players are fans of players. And if you're a Zion Williamson fan, yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you want to go to Duke like he did or going all the, Michael Jordan, following, whatever, wherever you're going to go. If you're a fan of that player, yeah, you want to go where he went. But I think too, and we're seeing this, I wrote about this a little bit with Trent Sisley at Heritage Hills with Notre Dame starting to be a factor with him. I mean, Notre Dame was not on his radar and they weren't on his when Mike Bray was coaching, but you bring in Micah Shrewsbury and his staff has connections down in that direction of the state. All of a sudden, Notre Dame's a player for a prospect that they never would have been involved with before. So, yeah, the brands matter, but also the people are ultimately gonna. If you have a connection with the coaches and whatnot and the players, then you've got a shot. And those coaches who know those areas, they're going to that's going to matter in the long run as well.
Well, and speaking of knowing coaches, I've got a great story for you that you could handle. It's too much for me. But if you look around the state of Indiana, starting with Micah, Matt Painter, Mike Woodson, Terry Morin, I forget the name of the ladies women's coach at Duke or at Purdue.
Katie Geralds.
She and the Notre Dame coach. I'm not sure. I don't think she's from Indiana.
Neil Ivey.
Where is she from?
I don't know where she's from, but she's Jaden Ivey's. It's Jaden Ivey's mom. I'm not sure if she's from Indiana. She played for she played for the Fever.
Where was Jaden Ivey from, Kyle?
Well, he went to Mishawaka Marion to start, and then he went to Lawton. Yeah.
So he's an Indiana kid. So she's an Indiana roots. All those coaches are all Indiana people. Yeah. It's mind-boggling. We're talking major coach. And you can't count Thad Mott as being from Indiana, but he's lived in Indiana probably for more than his life than any place else, even Ohio. Because he was at Butler twice. AJ Moye is at Valpo, and I haven't dug that deep into it. But then you start putting the all these webs of schools that produce all the talent that comes out of this state, and it's mesmerizing. It is a mesmerizing thing. But I don't think people understand how deep it runs. I mean, there cannot be another state where all the major programs, the coaches are from that state, played in that state. It's pretty cool. I forgot, but I mean, I had him on the list earlier. But yeah, Ball State and Michael Lewis, the Evansville, the guy at Evansville.
Mm-hmm.
So is also it's crazy. I mean, it seriously is. So there you go. Just give me credit. Just or I'll give you a quote in the story. That's how it works.
Well, I figured we'd be talking Cincinnati Reds all show. I'm surprised you haven't even.
We talked about it. I didn't want to, but because Kyle's a Detroit Tigers fan. Where are the Tigers sitting in the Central?
I mean, they're like 3 games out of first, but they're like 10 games under 500. So,
but if you're in the Central, it doesn't really matter. Any Central. I'm not talking American League, National League. It doesn't matter. Usually, the National League's a little tougher this year, I guess, but not much. Man, the Central divisions in both leagues always kind of weak because they're all the smallest market teams, though.
Well, go look at the AL Central standings when you get a chance. It might be the worst division in the history of baseball. It's very, I mean, it is unbelievably bad. And I keep expecting the Guardians to kind of pick it up, but I don't know, man. It's absolutely terrible, which helps keep me interested. The Tigers went on a 9-game losing streak, and they're still like not that far out of it. So
that's amazing. Well, and the Reds have won 11 straight, and they have probably maybe a 2-game lead. Yeah, if they have that. I haven't checked to see what Milwaukee did. Brother, I can't thank you enough. It's a blast as always. I hope you're enjoying the summer.
I am going to watch some baseball tonight. So
what are you going to see?
My son's playing, so just gonna spend some time watching him.
What age?
He's 14.
We're getting serious now.
Yeah, my younger son, my older one, he just he quit playing baseball, but yeah, so it's good to get some family time.
Well, make sure he uses the flip down glasses because we saw what happened to that kid for Florida or LSU the other night, whoever it was.
Yep.
Kyle Neddenriep for me. Great writer from Indianapolis. Caught myself again. There we go. Doing good. Thanks, brother. I appreciate you.
See you, Jim. See you, Dustin.
We're back with more here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio with the great Chris Denari as the NBA draft is tonight. And yes, I am available. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
I'm going to have to go through that daggone list of schools. Mr. Denari, how are you, sir?
What's up, gentlemen?
Oh,
Hello.
Not much. No, I'm just kidding. I made a suggestion that for college basketball with the transfer portal,
Yeah.
they said there should be a deadline when you can enter the portal, which they do have already. And then in, I don't know, 3 weeks, maybe a month afterwards, I don't know how long, we have a 2-day draft type show where they have to make their announcements.
Yeah. I mean, it's come to that, hadn't it? I mean,
why not? It's all it is free agency. And so why not? I think it would be, put a date on it. I mean, these guys need to be in to the schools in June anyway, because they've already started working out and the school starts. So let's do it. Let's make it happen. Make it fun.
It's funny because, it's always been, and I love all basketball, but people have always said, oh, we know the college rosters. No, you don't anymore. I can't. Butler has 9 new players, and I know they got the kid from St. John's or whatever, but NBA,
wait a minute.
now there's trades.
St. John's lost a player?
What?
St. John's lost a player?
Yeah.
That's amazing. They have 9 new faces as well.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But it's, now there are trades, of course, in the NBA, but it's like right now, I'd say that the NBA rosters are more stable than the college.
Yep.
Oh, because there's because that's another thing that I think that there should have to be a 2-year agreement. Something. Because the 3 and 4, the 4-year guys, if they're there 4 years, you're not very good because well, I'm just saying
not to paint with a broad brush or anything.
That's not you're not elite. So you're probably not a part of the solution. If that's putting it delicately enough.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's interesting. It's a wild time as far as roster construction is concerned. I mean, it's probably easier as a coach to go into the portal than to have to court, somebody. We all know the stories. You go see them when they're a freshman and you got to go to all their AAU tournaments. I mean, think about that.
Mike Davis says he recruits the portal now.
Yeah. I mean, the investment that you have to make time-wise.
All right, here we go, guys.
Freshly made fare, tying their roots in limestone with their love of Southern eateries. With quality, local, and organic food as their main focus, Southern Stone strives to always provide their guests with an exceptional dining experience. With weekly specials, quick, attentive service, Southern Stone Restaurant provides delicious 5-star comfort food with a Southern charm at 2-star prices. Southern Stone Restaurant is part of Endeavor Hospitality's Wow Club.
This segment is brought to you by Courtroom Sports Grill in Bedford. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back. Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Thursday. Appreciate you being along with us. Been a fun day already. But it gets better. Good friend Chris Denari joins us. Perfectly timed, the voice of the Pacers with tonight's NBA draft. And we posed a question earlier that we did not answer, and that who would we pick with the number 7 pick? And I'm going to shock everybody. I'm going to say I would take me.
Jim Coyle.
I would love. Can you imagine hearing that name walking up and saying, "What's up, Commish?"
I tell you what, it's going to be an interesting night. Good to see you guys, Jim and Dustin. It's been a while. I was on vacation a couple of weeks, and
I haven't seen you since the 500, I think maybe.
Yeah, I think you're right. I saw Jim out at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in the media center. What was that? Carb Day, I think.
I was going to try to go to where his perch is because I was going to climb up there because we hear how it's up there and it is. I didn't make it to where he was. I couldn't find him on that, but I walked to the top of the bleachers in that corner, and it's not like the bleachers are crazy like in a stadium, but they're just so massive that they end up they are that high. I mean, this is probably like the top of Assembly Hall high.
I mean, where we sit, we're attached to the back of the bleachers, and if you look down, you just see asphalt. So it would be a significant drop if you did that. But that was a tough. And I don't want to talk about the race much, but what a great race that it was. Yeah, I mean, it was an interesting race that we've never seen before with the red flags. I honestly like how it ends. I hate to see races end under yellow, and I know they did something that they'd never done before, but I thought it was exciting for the fans. And if you go back to the second red flag, Newgarden was in the lead at that point. So if they would have gone to their, the old way they did it with yellows, I'm not sure they could have cleaned the track up after that second red. I think maybe there was 5 laps left. So in a way, it ended the way it was supposed to with the guy that, was in, that won the race. But I quite frankly, I loved it. I think, sports is entertainment. Sure, you have to have rules and those kinds of things. But I just think the way the race ended, gave it a lot of excitement. It was great to see, in my opinion, Newgarden win. I mean, Marcus Ericsson, he's been a tremendous driver too. But had a lot of fun. Weather was great, sort of like it is today. I mean, it's a beautiful day here in central Indiana. I'll be with other members of our broadcast team in Midtown Carmel tonight, hosting our draft party for all of our season ticket holders. We had a great turnout and a great event last year, and it led the Pacers to get Benedict Mathurin and Andrew Nemhard. And tonight, they have a chance, either if they're going to take young players through the draft, if they're going to use their draft picks for trades. We've already seen them consummate a trade with Denver, giving up one of their first-round picks for a first-round pick for next year. All of these things become assets, however you use them. If you draft a player, if you use it in a trade. So I think there's a lot of opportunity for, the Pacers to improve their roster. I don't know about you guys, but Dustin, I'm anxious to see. We've already had some fireworks, right? You've already had a major trade, Bradley Beal from Washington to Phoenix. And then overnight, you have Kristaps Porzingis leaving Washington, going to Boston, Marcus Smart going to Memphis. So already we're still, 8 hours away, 10 hours away from the start of the draft. And we've had 2 pretty significant trades in the NBA.
Is the NBA or the NFL draft a bigger lead up? Because the NBA draft is shorter, it's more compact, it's 2 rounds.
Yeah.
NFL draft, 7 rounds.
The difference is the NBA season ended a week ago Monday, and then 2 weeks later you have the draft. The Super Bowl is the 1st of February, and then you don't have the NFL draft until April. So, but I don't know about you guys, but it's just like the NFL draft. I'm just ready for the draft because you've gone through every scenario, every mock draft. Everybody has an opinion. All these guys have worked out. For me, I don't have to cover that stuff, right? I just am going to deal with the group that will be with the Pacers once summer league starts, once training camp starts. So, but it is definitely an exciting time.
To get the Nuggets first-round pick for 2024, probably not going to be a good pick, is it?
Well, it's not the Nuggets pick, I think, Dustin, right? It's Oklahoma City's pick through. Yeah. There are so many permutations of it, but it is another first-round pick, and having a second first-round pick is valuable either to be used or to be traded.
Well, you can hope that Oklahoma City goes into the dump and you get it with a lottery pick.
Well, and I think to Chris's point, that's what the Pacers, when you have as many draft picks in this draft as the Pacers do, you look at least a group of them as assets. And you're not going to draft all those guys and bring so many new faces into the franchise because you've got a really good young core. So what I think they're going to do is go through this season and then at this time, maybe next season, look and say, do we need a guy that we can trade for? What's the missing piece? Can we trade for it? Or can we draft that player? Whatever the case might be. So it gives the Pacers, it's not just that they're going to have a draft pick. They have an asset that they can use in the future to decide what they need to do to maybe take that next step to be an Eastern Conference contender.
Yeah, and that's you look at Denver, they did not have a first-round draft pick this year. And if you look at their roster, I mean, they are built as a championship team. They probably aren't going to add veterans. I mean, they want to re-sign Bruce Brown, but that 29th pick, let's say they use it and they bring in a young player, that's on a pretty favorable salary for them that they can slide in. Because if they went out and had to try to sign a veteran, even at the mid-level or whatever, that's probably going to be more expensive. So, but it gives both teams flexibility. Denver wanted to be into the first round. They might have their eye on somebody late in the first round that they'd like to get. For the Pacers, they get a second first-round pick next year. They already have 2 first-round picks this year, and it just gives them more flexibility because, to Dustin's point, they only have 3 free agents. I mean, set aside whatever they might do from a trade standpoint or whatever. We don't know what that's going to be. They only have 3 free agents. So Shea Brissett, James Johnson, George Hill. So of their 15-man regular roster, they only have 3 open slots. Kendall Brown was on a 2-way deal. They are adding one more 2-way deal to the roster this year. So you'll have 15 on regular contracts and 3 on 2-way. So, they might want to leave a roster spot open for some flexibility. So I just think the trade gives them an opportunity to not just look at this year, because pick number 40 is not a bad pick. I mean, there's been a lot of quality players taken, in the early 40s in the second round, but it gives them another pick for flexibility next year.
Would you say that this is true or false? Because it seems like we've had a quick transition. It seems like just a few years ago that the super teams were going to be the future of the NBA, right? With the Heat teams with LeBron, D-Wade, and Chris Bosh. Then you had Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson with the Golden State Warriors. But that theory almost seems to have exploded. And I know some teams are going to still pursue that avenue, but it feels like, over the last few years, Chris, is it true or false? Like, it seems like the NBA draft is even now more important than it was maybe a decade ago because teams are getting away from that. They're actually trying to, I think back to those 2012, 13, 14 Pacers teams where they had a guy like Paul George who was a superstar, but they surrounded him with so many good pieces. And I feel like we're getting back to that as opposed to we need 3 superstar guys to win a title.
Yeah, think about those teams in 12, 13, and 14. You had 2 veterans that you added through trades, David West and George Hill. But the other 3 players were your draft picks, Roy Hibbert, Paul George, Lance Stevenson. You got Roy Hibbert, 17, I think. He was the 17th pick. Paul was the 10th. And Lance was a second-round draft pick.
Second-rounder.
Yeah, so you're right. So what's going to be interesting is to see Milwaukee was not a super team when they won. Denver was not a super team when they won. I wouldn't call Toronto a super team when they won. I mean, you had Kawhi, but they weren't a super team. So it's interesting to see. Phoenix, you could categorize with their deal for Bradley Beal. Booker, Durant, Beal could be super team. My concern for them, guys, and Dustin, who else are they going to have? Yeah. I mean, if they keep DeAndre Ayton, I mean, they're going to have to go into the bargain barrel and maybe get some veterans that want to have a chance to win a championship for low money. They're just not going to have enough around them, in my opinion. And what if those guys get hurt? I mean, Bradley Beal has not played a full season. Durant has not played a full season. Booker was hurt this year. I mean, on paper, they are very good. Those are 3 outstanding players. So I think you're right. I think the draft has become very important to build your team, and then you sprinkle it with guys that you get in trades. I mean, if you look at the Pacers, Halliburton, of course, wasn't drafted by Indiana, Neesmith, Wara, but they're all young, and you got in trades. They're almost like they are your draft picks, right? Because they're so young.
And on a funnier note, getting away from the draft, I cannot think of another player in another sport who seemed maybe as disinterested in winning an NBA championship or in any sports championship as Nikola Jokic. Basically,
I think it just appears that way.
But he made the comment, everybody hates their job, right? Like, I don't think he hates his job, but the thing that's interesting to me is I think that people, when they watch professional athletes, they think that they love their sport, that they love doing it. And I just think at some point, there's some players out there who they honestly view it as a job. It's not like it's not a good job, but it's a job. I don't remember another player having that sort of mindset where it's just like, yeah. And to do it in such a dominating fashion that he's the best, maybe the best player in the NBA right now, top 3 for sure. And he just seemed like, yeah, we won a championship. Okay, I'm going to go back home now.
Yeah, remember his comments after they won, and they said, "You mean parade's on Thursday? I've got to stay." He wanted to go home. Now, he had a heck of a time at the parade. There's no question about that. But right. I think it shows you that, these guys are people. They have emotions. They have families. As Jim said, it's a job. I mean, you're earning money. And, we all at some point, no matter what we do, you just want to sit on the couch. Right? You just want to sit on the couch and chill out and not have to worry about anything. And, the one thing, the NBA is a long season. You're under the microscope. They played 82 regular season games and probably they were 16-4. They played 102 games, throw in 4 preseason games, 106 games. And again, people say, yeah, they make a lot of money, but they also have to deal with things that the 3 of us don't have to deal with. Right. I mean,
well, the physical stress along with the mental stress over that period of time when you're playing at the level that they play at. And let me tell you, I don't care what you're doing. If you're out playing tennis, those that listen, if you're out playing pickleball or whatever you're doing, and I'm sure you're playing hard, but I don't think, and unless you have played a professional sport, that you can truly understand the level of which they give their bodies physically, and the mental strain just that automatically comes with that. It's tiring.
Yeah. And you have to do it every day. I mean, I remember Donnie Walsh many, many years ago when I first started with the Pacers, we were talking about what you do in the summer. And he said, there are 3 things that happen. He goes, you either get better, you stay the same, or you regress a little bit. And he goes, the last 2 are unacceptable. Even staying the same is unacceptable.
Staying the same is going backwards in essence.
Yeah. So the amount of time that these athletes put in, and I'll go from the college game, Jim. I mean, you see it. I mean, what these college athletes do now on a year-round basis. This isn't school ends in May like it used to be, and you go home for the summer, and then you show back up in August. It's a lot different. And again, I know NIL, money, there's all kinds of things, but I've been around it enough, and I see what these athletes do. 9 out of 10 people that I know who would not do what these players do. So, they're very well compensated. It's a dream of most of theirs to be able to do what they do. But I'm telling you, there are a lot of times I would not change, get in their shoes because of what they have to deal with, social media, all those kinds of things. So, but hey, we love it. I mean, we love sports. We love covering it. We love being a part of it. We love rooting for it. You just had Kyle Neddenriep on. You're talking about the Tigers. I'm going to talk about the Reds. 11 straight wins.
I told you he was a fan.
I'm going to Cincinnati tomorrow. Brandon Gaudin is the new voice of the Atlanta Braves, and he was the voice of Butler 2 after me. And I'm making my way. I'm going to Winston-Salem this week for the National Sports Media Awards. And so I'll be in Winston-Salem Saturday through Tuesday.
Oh, that's right. Are you picking up your award?
Yes. Yeah. I've never been before, but yeah, I'm the.
And what was that award for? I'm
Sportscaster of the Year. So yeah, they finally felt sorry for the 62-year-old guy. But on the way, I'm going to Cincinnati tomorrow. Gonna pop in and see Brandon. I've been texting with John Sadak, the voice of the Reds. I mean, just to see these young, talented Reds. I mean, I'll be honest. When the season started, I knew about a third of the roster, and didn't know how many games I would watch. Now, man, I'm invested every night, and it shows you what winning does, right? It's why we love
winning cures everything.
Winning cures everything.
Winning cures everything.
I mean, they went on that road trip. They were 8-1, and I've been watching Reds games during the year, and their attendance has not been very good. The attendance for the Rockies series, I mean, they had 28,000 the other night. I think they'd been averaging like 10. So,
and this was a front of the week series too.
Yeah. So I expect with the Braves coming in this weekend.
Oh man,
Great American Ballpark is going to be hopping.
I think you could potentially see 40,000 on a Friday or Saturday.
And Dustin, down in the South, are you a Braves fan? I can't remember.
I am a Braves fan.
That's what I'm a
Braves fan. I will admit it is a bit of a bandwagon. Growing up, I didn't really have
I'm going to say, I guarantee you became a fan in the 90s. I knew it.
No, well, I didn't have much of a team, so I watched the Cubs, the White Sox, the Braves, and then I moved to Atlanta, and it was all Braves. And so to immerse myself, to make friends, to be able to talk to people, I kind of adopted the Braves as my team. So I follow them. I watch as many games as I can, but I will admit it's not like I'm a diehard fan. But Chris, news, I am moving back to Indiana. So maybe I'll be making that move in July. So maybe we can at some point maybe chat about maybe we'll hit up a Reds game or something.
Where are you moving to?
Brownsburg.
Okay. Oh, so suburban Indy. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, no Reds game without me, baby. I'm going.
Well, you're coming too, obviously.
Hey, before July 20th, I'm not sure where you'll be, Chris, but that is the date of the Never Lose Hoop golf outing at the Golf Club at Eagle Point for the Hulls Foundation. It benefits area kids with cancer. Hopefully, you'll be around and be in town, and we'll get you down there to play.
Yeah, I'd love to. We've got a crazy busy summer. We're going to Michigan July 4th week. And then my wife and I will hit the road to Myrtle Beach. Our son and daughter-in-law are expecting right around July 16th, but it looks like she's going to be induced early. And then we go to Boston and Portland, Maine for a nephew's wedding in July. It's going to be great.
Boston.
Hey, I do want to say Friday I played the foul course at IU.
Oh, nice.
Oh, my gosh. It might be the hardest course I've ever played.
It's just got a new ranking.
Yeah.
So how were the greens?
Fast. Lightning.
Yeah.
They just played the State Am there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and I think there were only like 3 guys under par. I have a buddy who is a plus 1.9 handicap here in Indianapolis. I mean, he's really good. I think he shot 81-80 at foul.
That's like just getting beat up.
Yeah.
It's just like a bunch of body punches.
That's what I felt like. I mean, it's one of those courses, guys, and we've all played them, where you're trying to think of where not to miss it, because there's so much danger, and then you're just in a bad mindset. So, but it was fun. It was a blast.
Well, buddy, enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the trip to Cincinnati as well. Look forward to that.
Talk to you next week. We'll have a little better handle on what the Pacers roster looks like.
We might know how the draft is going to go by then.
That's right. All right, guys.
Thank you. Denari. Thank you, sir. Have a great one. We've got more coming up. Back with it right after this.
We'll be right back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
If you're in the market, I'm going to have to get the Braves guy on.
Brandon Gaudin, he is awesome. He used to work at Big Ten Network too.
There's a damn race car driver in Vegas
basketball season. I don't know.
When he first said Brandon, I was like, the race car driver? There's a race car driver named Brandon Gaudin.
It's Gaudin. Gaudin.
Oh, Gaudin. Okay, it's Brandon Gaudin. This
one. Go 10 to the God.
Yeah. That was a good poll, John. Fits the Boston theme. Aston.
Who's the voice of the Reds?
Me.
Who's the voice of the Reds? No, you're not.
So I'm pretty close. Got the same first name.
Yeah, you're not lying. Are you related to Pat? He ain't lying.
What's that thing you keep saying? From Boston. What the heck is that you keep saying?
Your cousin from Boston. You've never heard that commercial?
No, but you say it a lot. It's pretty funny.
Every time, well, it's just like Omaha. If I say Omaha, it's Omaha, Omaha. Can't say it once. Dustin, there goes the neighborhood Schutte. Our resident Howie's our resident comedian.
Nicknamer.
Great job. Brandon and John on.
I have about 9 minutes here for this last segment. What's your ETA, Dustin, on when you'll be done moving?
Oh, geez. Well, I mean, stuff will be here next Sunday, but will move.
Where are you right now?
I'm in Zionsville.
Oh.
And then I'll move. I'm going to, I think I'll be pretty much set and ready to go by the end of the 4th of July week. So that's what the 8th.
Here we go, guys.
7th, 8th.
This is Brewing, Metalworks Brewing Company. Bring your passion and your thirst.
This segment is brought to you by K-Bello. Now back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Thursday. Appreciate you being with us. Man, what fun this has been already. Matt Taylor, Kyle Neddenriep, Chris Denari. That's a nice little lineup, man.
It's a great lineup.
I mean, that's diversity. The Colts in the NFL, recruiting and all things, the high school range, and of course Chris with the NBA and the Pacers. I'd like to start trying to get somebody from Purdue, Butler, and Notre Dame on at different times.
That'd be
Start
awesome.
rounding this thing out a little bit better.
There we go.
Nobody does it, so why not us?
Why not us?
We'll start doing that. Especially once we could ever get Dustin settled.
I'm a nomad. I'm always on the move.
So, do you know where you're going to be, right?
Yeah.
So, have you already planned what your studio is going to look like? That's your first thought, right?
Yeah, that was my first thought. How can I turn this little spot into a studio?
There you go. Maybe get a tent and go outside.
I need like one of those. I've seen people who build like studio boxes. So it's just like a box and it's covered with that sound insulation.
Well,
maybe I just need to get one of those and put it in my home.
Well, actually, that would be akin to when Dustin first started doing the show with us. He was the man in the closet.
I was.
Why were you in there? I forget.
Because, so in a 1-bedroom apartment, the only way you can get away from your dog where he's not going to bark is to go into your walk-in closet.
Well, why didn't you put him in the closet?
You're not putting your dog in the closet for 2 hours every day.
Well, you were going in the closet for 2 hours every day.
Yeah, but he can wander out. He can get his food. He can walk around. He can stretch. He can sniff things. You know, being the good pet owner I was.
That was the best. That was the best thing that you've ever done. That was being in there because the sound is amazing.
It was. All the clothes caught the echo.
That is in essence a sound booth. I had a few studios back. I had a closet that was just like that, and I would walk in there, and I couldn't get sound that good where I had the studio as I could have in that daggone closet. It was just boom dead. It was perfect.
And it was big enough to where I turned half of it into an actual studio. I had backdrop. I had my setup ready to go. I did radio hits. I did television interviews. I did this show all from that little spot. And you never would have saw
television interviews. Very interesting. Do you put the folded clothes behind you? Did you have the shirt? What was your backdrop?
It was, I had that. Do you remember I had that Big Ten flag, the Big Ten banner? Yeah. And then I had.
What happened to that, by the way?
It's folded up. It's coming with me. And then I've got, let's see, what else did I have? I had that, and then I had a bunch of sports books. I think I had a football and a basketball in the backdrop, and then some of those giveaway pom-pom things that they have, Kennesaw State, you go to a big game, they give you a pom-pom. Kennesaw State did that for a few, so I had 2 gold pom-poms that were there. So it was quite the setup. It wasn't like professional, this is going to be on major network stuff, but for the television hits that I did, which were very few and far between, it was good enough.
You didn't have your bras like sitting out drying or anything like that?
No, I didn't have anything. I didn't have my unmentionables hanging up in the background.
That's always, I'm always thinking how I'm going to look at changing. I think I'm going to do some adjustments to the studio when I have that next opportunity. I'm going to have all my awards up behind me, which means I need no shelving at all.
Oh, you're going to take somebody else's approach to it.
That would mean no awards is what I meant. I was joking. I need no shelving. Whose approach was that?
I thought you were Kevin Warren. Anything that had his name on it was guaranteed to be behind him in the backdrop. And there were 35 things. I don't know how many awards, quote unquote awards he had, but if it had his name on it and it was in a plaque, it was going on the wall behind him. So you could see it was so dysfunctional and disorganized. Like, I don't know.
The most, I'm sure he's a good person. I don't know him personally. So and nothing I say is about personal. This is all business stuff. What a terrible commissioner. I'm sorry.
Bad commissioner.
Bad. And he's still and he's left problems in his wake.
Yes.
I'm wondering now, and now I'm wondering, he's got a great job back probably where he belongs. I don't know if he belongs anywhere because I think I'm starting to wonder. I'm like, man, when you do that, that's kind of, do you even know what you're doing? But was he forced out, I wonder? And I'm asking that because of the one thing that he did that is still mind-boggling. He flipping gave away the Big Ten championship to a competing network.
Yeah. Well,
in essence, no, he doesn't, but he works for all the
presidents.
But that's where all the money comes from, baby.
I'm going to say this really quickly. I don't know if he was forced out, but from the moment he took that job as the commissioner of the Big Ten, he was eyeing a prominent position in the NFL. So I don't know if he was forced out or not, but his ultimate goal was to get back to the NFL in a better position than when he left the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, well, good luck. Hey, what a fun time it was. And it's always fun when the man Dustin Schutte is here. I wish you were I can't wait till you're back. We could just chat all daggone day. But also Matt Taylor from the Colts. Glad he's having a good time. Kyle Neddenriep, great sports writer. Make sure you're following him. Chris Denari of the Colts, or the Pacers rather, as we get ready to watch tonight's draft. The College World Series continues as LSU and, daggone it, Wake Forest play again today. The College World Series has been amazing. One-run games, incredible. There was even a piece saying, is it better than the March Madness? Back tomorrow to do it all again. John Boy, who's on the program?
We're going to have Alec Bussey, Zach Osterman, and we'll see what else we can get ready for you.
Perfect. It's a Friday then, so we'll look forward to it. But go out and enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks a lot for joining us. Big thanks to everybody, like I said, to Matt, to Kyle, to Chris, and to Dustin, to John, the producer, of course. Most importantly, thanks to you guys. Without you, we have no reason to be here. We're back tomorrow to do this again. Until then, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.